Good afternoon. I'm Dan Tooper, Vice President of the Board. Commissioner Randall is en route and Commissioner Collins is here. I see Jeff's on his way in, but we'll go ahead and get started. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, 4 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Jefferson County PUD Board of Commissioners. We'll be offering both virtual and online meetings as well as in-person meetings unless advance notice is provided. Online participant audio will be muted upon entry. Please unmute at the appropriate time to speak. If you're calling in, use *6 to mute and unmute and *9 to raise a hand to request to speak. With that, we will go ahead and take a roll call. I'm, again, Dan Tooper, Vice President of the Board.
Kenneth Collins, Commissioner, District 2.
And Jeff Randall, Commissioner for District 1 and President of the Board. And thanks, Dan, for getting us started. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a few items on the agenda. Do we have any changes to it, or can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion to second to approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we have an approved agenda. So we are at public comment. Excuse me. Public comment period allows members of the public to comment, limited to 3 minutes each, on any items not specifically listed on the agenda or for items listed on the consent agenda. Prior to any public comment, members of the public must first be recognized by the president and are not permitted to disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct and fair progress of the commission's meeting. After an initial warning by the president, individuals who intentionally violate these guidelines through actual disruption of the commission meeting will be dropped from the meeting. So do we have anybody who wanted to make a general public comment? Philip.
Phil Stover on District 1. So my comments are on the general topic of solar. There's a specific community solar agenda item, which I don't have a comment on, but I'm happy to wait until you get to there, if you prefer.
Okay, is it relevant to that issue?
Not specifically.
Why don't you go ahead? And then if it's, more related, you can say more, but go ahead with what you got.
All right, thanks. So just a few comments relative to solar. Jefferson data as of December 31st, 2024, Jefferson County PUD is 162% of the original 1996 goal for residential net metering, and still going strong. I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts about ending that net metering arrangement. Solar demand may peak here shortly for the end of the year and then drop off. Don't know. Next changes. Coma Power, on the other hand, only made 46% of its 1996 4% goal, but a lot more subscribers. The Puget Sound Energy time of use program, we've talked about time of use before, very interested in that. They've had a pilot going. It's going one more month, no pilot ends. I think we should take a look at that, see if there's anything in there that might help Jefferson County. And on that same vein, Puget Sound Energy has their Flex program, Flex EV, for example. In terms when you charge your, you can use your electric vehicle to help the grid. Also, you can use your solar batteries to help the grid. So if we haven't looked at the Flex program over on Puget Sound Energies, I think that's a great topic for a future time. And I guess that's it.
Okay.
Anxious to see where we're headed.
Okay, and those numbers, Phil, that you threw out about the solar program, that's the
BSU.
right. So the state requires, for people not understanding, the state requires all utilities to participate up to a point. And after that point, it's voluntary, or they could change the program. And you're saying that we're at 162% of that minimum goal. So if we wanted to, we could change the program. Okay, thank you. All right. Did we have anybody online? I see a hand up on the phone. Is that Roger?
Yep, that's me. More items that are not on the agenda. Why is the underwater cable going on our construction plan and not the Navy's? Whose idea was that? How much is it costing us, and what's the value to the customer? Love to talk about that. Why isn't Port Ludlow paying for the new underground feeder when the law says they have to? Love to talk about that. How much are we spending to implement our wildlife mitigation program, and how long will it take to relieve the backlog? I'd love to talk about that, et cetera, et cetera. Our agenda looks like a homeowners association. Come on, you guys. You put the budget up with no attachments the other day. There's only 2 items on there. It's a $50 million corporation. This is an affront to transparency and public participation, and I think the ratepayers deserve better. And I think the agenda needs some leadership. Thanks.
So, oops. So those items you brought up, Roger, are not on the agenda. I don't know if Joe has had enough time on that underwater cable thing to Indian Island. It's not just for Indian Island. My understanding is it's also to loop to Marrowstone Island, but I don't know if you've had a chance to get familiar with that project enough to make any comments on that, or if that's going to have to, I mean, Roger, I don't want to get into a back and forth, but, the point you're bringing up about items that are capital budget items in the budget, I think we will continue to talk about more this fall as Joe gets more familiar with the work plan and has his own revisions and take on it. But I don't know, Joe, if you wanted to make any comments now.
I'll just make a general comment, I suppose, about how the utility invests in capital. When there are projects that address poor reliability performance or have widespread benefit, those are generally rate-based. And projects that are specific to a particular customer that's needing to interconnect, or some particular customer's special reliability requirements, those are not. So the projects that I'm not super familiar with, but I was just hearing about, generally sound like projects that most utilities generally rate base, as opposed to try to create special rate zones and apply those rates there. So that would be a construct that I wouldn't be familiar with in any of the previous 5 utilities that I've worked at.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. So let's see. Get my scrolling to work here. So is that all the comments for items not on the agenda or on consent agenda? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. Manager and staff reports. Joe, welcome to week 5. At some point we'll quit reminding you how long you've been here, but kind of fun right now.
Well, this is, I guess, just coming up on 30 days on the job. So excited again for the opportunity, and lots of challenges and lots of learning on my part. I thought 12-ish hour days we're going to get the job done, but that is not the case. I'm still far behind. So we're going to bring forward later in the agenda an update on opt-out. We heard feedback when that was presented before, and we're going to bring a different proposal forward. Jeff, you suggested that, sorry, I reflect a little bit on my last month, and so I'll do that just for a moment. The utility is dealing with 2 competing cultures. One is where we have a startup culture around our broadband infrastructure, and there's a lot of opportunity and partnership that is going on with a number of entities to bring great service to underserved parts of our service territory. And I'm thankful that the commissioners and the staff had the foresight to leverage those opportunities for the benefit of the community. That is happening concurrently with we're a fairly novel electric utility, and we've been a water utility for a long time. So trying to gain maturity and discipline and things that are best practice, or at least common practice in electric utilities, while we're also fostering a startup culture in broadband, I'm noticing tension in that space. I'm noticing that that maybe were routinely done when Puget owned the system are struggling to keep focus and keep forward while we're doing a bunch of other things. So
Do you have any examples of things like
you.
that you share? I'm kind of curious when you
So the two that stand out the most are our tree trimming program seems to have not gotten the focus and attention and just routine. It should just be a routine exercise. We somewhat unusually have a 7-year cycle as well. I haven't encountered a utility in western side of a state of Washington or Oregon cycles that long. A more typical cycle would be 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm.
And then we're not executing even on the 7-year cycle to what I can tell. Um, it's common practice for utilities to test about 10% of their pole infrastructure and make sure that that is routinely being monitored, anti insect protection delivered to preserve the pole for a long term, and that program is needing to get relaunched. So
The
Jim,
devil's threat,
with that, those are things,
so
um, fundamentals that should
I
be
like it.
kind of routine, and then we should be able to build off that. So
Hey, Joe, can you pause something? I think Roger's mic might be live on the. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Joe. Please continue.
So what I'm eager to do in the early stages, frankly, is probably not going to be super innovative or strategic. It's going to be try to bring typical levels of maturity to the water and electric businesses that maybe didn't have as much attention as we've taken on a lot of other initiatives. So hopefully this doesn't come across as not being collaborative or working with others at the same rate that we have been, but we do need to buckle down and get some things operationalized and basically routine, uh, and then um, and then look for those other opportunities. That's how I'm seeing the current landscape.
Okay.
So
Yes, I just want to pause there. Commissioners have any questions on any of those items? Please continue. Unless you're thinking of one there, Ken? No? Okay.
but
I'll let you know.
Okay. thank you.
I'll finish that thought with the same thought that I mentioned before. The staff are eager to do the right thing and serve the community, and that is something that I will never take for granted. I've worked with staff that are maybe not as motivated or community focused, and that is really hard to recover from. But when you have a staff that is really passionate about doing the right things for their community, bringing in some industry standard practices and helping folks see that that's a benefit is going to be a pretty straightforward objective, I believe. So one that I think the community is going to see benefit from, and staff is going to appreciate as we implement some of those disciplines. So there are a few other things that I wanted to comment on.
Please
if I may.
continue. I think we've got time in this
Okay.
agenda, so.
So I just learned recently from our customer service team that they have expanded our interpreter services in the lobby. So
Oh,
we have had the ability on phone calls, as I understand it, to engage interpretation services to help customers where English isn't their first language. And the customer service team found a path with the information technology team to deliver those services now in the lobby. So if a customer comes in that doesn't speak English fluently or one of the languages that a lobby or a customer service person that's already assigned in the lobby speaks, they'll have an easy way to gain access in their native language to set up our account or get support with their bill.
great.
So proud of the team. They did that all on their own, had nothing to do with me. I don't want some of these things that I'm giving updates on. I don't want to inadvertently assume the credit. These are folks just doing the right thing and helping our community deliver their services. So we have more management reports, but I'm going to turn over to Will if he's ready. Will's going to do a broadband update in a moment. Then he's going to give an update on the potential to modernize and improve our virtual experience for our community. at a lower software licensing cost. And this is a project that he and Shannon have been working towards. Then we're going to go to Jose, who's going to bring an update on the Hadlock sewer treatment plant. And then we're going to finally circle back to me or Dan to give a bit of a PIF update on the project that we're collaborating with the city of Port Townsend and the port of Port Townsend.
Great.
You ready?
Yeah. 1 second. Floor is yours.
I'm just gonna give a little update on our recent. Sorry, I'm gonna give a recent update on July broadband sales and talk about a few projections, and I can answer any more questions about broadband. Let me share my screen. Oh, Zoom, they always move the button. Share, here it is. Okay. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't have the August month-end numbers to be able to share the closest data. I would have liked to have done that, but I have July's has been ready to share. So we'll just walk through that really quickly. Right. Okay, so we had $37,000 in broadband product sales in July. It's a 55% increase since March. And the average revenue per customer right now is $93. So that includes transport customers and our PON customers. So I was really excited to see that number. We'll break down kind of how that came about. March is when we really started doing installs out in the Quilcene area, bringing on more and more customers. We started out about 24,000. Now we're up to 37. We're into the 40s at this point, but I'll bring those numbers back at
And
another
just a
day.
clarification, Will, these are not new sales. This is like total sales. So this is like recurring revenue that we should expect to,
This is the
see.
total sales for each month.
right.
So it's all cumulative.
It's right. It's
Yep.
it's not a one-time.
Nope,
growth
it's just going to
thing.
keep going up for the next 4 years. Every month should go up after the next.
Okay.
This is just how it's building at this time. And wanted to show by each product category. So wholesale residential is 3%, wholesale business is at 9%, transport 5%. Our legacy network, that's all the customers that are running through the NoaNet network. Retail business, and then retail residential, which is the bulk, and that's all of our new additions in the grant funded area.
And legacy network, who would we consider? I mean, you're not supposed to give away customer information, but I guess types of
They're all commercial customers.
Critical
There
services.
might, yeah, they're all commercial
School,
customers.
fire, that sort of thing,
Mhm.
hospital.
okay.
Those kind of things. Yep.
And
That
we
were
don't-
previous, that they've been with us for years and years. on
They've
that.
had fiber where the goal wasn't to change what we're delivering to them because they have good.
Our
high
goal
speed.
is to get them on the new network by the end of this year, but we've been in discussion with NoaNet on how we want to make that transition.
Okay.
Yep. This is by product sold. For our retail residential, the most popular product is our basic gig by far, which was nice to see. That's the $75 a month for 1 gig up by 1 gig down. The basic 150 came in at 91 customers. 21 customers get the low income discount. 44 are on the Gig Plus, where they get the other bonus security and network controls. And then the Gig Max is the 3x3 with also the bonus controls. Since this was launched, we've added a lot more of a new product we had, which was the 3x3 for $100. And those are customers are choosing those at an exciting clip. They're really excited by that product.
Okay, so this is like new orders though, right? For-
These are all new orders in the month. No, this is all the orders, total orders, broken out by product type for retail
between
residential.
What months? What in July? Or is it
For
Since it's
year to date. Yep.
just- okay.
Okay. And this is as of August 22nd, we had 420 customers. on the new pond network. 82% were retail, 18% were wholesale. Today, we have 450. We're rapidly approaching 500, which we're excited about. We'll be
Yeah.
at 1,000 by the end of the year.
And Commissioner Collins will remember this number. I remember when we were doing the strategic planning stuff, the number that was thrown out was 2,000 customers was what they said you need to be to have a good chance of being balanced with your budget. And
Break even, yep.
it looks like, and that may be low by today's standards, and it looks like we should go well past that.
I will get to that slide.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. I didn't have time to go through and update the individual counts in the last three columns. This is an older slide, but I updated the NIDS installed and the number in service in the Quilcene area. So we're at 1288 is our, what's that? NID, Network Interface Device. That is the box on the outside of the house.
Thank you.
We just call them NIDs. They look like a NID, they're just a shell.
Outside of
It's that house shell.
And nobody's thinking about others.
NID installed.
Yeah. Yep. And so we've got fiber to over 1,100 homes. The NIDs installed is the next step. Once the NID is tested, then we can start putting them inside. Those numbers are going up quickly. So just kind of 15, 14, that's the number of folks that are registered and have asked to have the fiber installed.
And
Okay.
the top things there, you've got total OFC. Can you explain?
Olympic Fiber Corridor, in betweens and adjacent. And again, these numbers are another month back. I was trying to prep and get them all updated, but that's where we were a month ago. So end of June, not end of July. I guess that's almost 2 months ago now. Time moves by way too fast. But here's some fun numbers the commission has been asking, so I thought I'd bring these up here. Based on projections, we had projected revenue last year, or for this year, year end this year is looking at right around just under $500,000 of broadband sales. What we have in our budget this year is projected expense of $2,200 or $2,200,000 for 2025. And the balance of that is made up by some of the tax revenue, some of the grant money coming in, and some other funding. In 2026, we're projecting $2,097,000 in revenue, and our projected expense is $3 million. So the number I wanted to get closer to is that $3 million. So we're not expecting our expenses to go up a huge amount. We're already at staff. In fact, in 2024 and 2025, we staffed up to pretty much capacity, and we also bought all the tools and all the vehicles and everything else to outfit that staff. We don't have to do that again. We have maintenance, we have things like that, but a lot of those expenses are not going to be coming through again. We don't expect that $3 million to go a lot higher.
So does the projected expense capture debt service? If we borrow $4 million between now and 2027, does that change those numbers?
That money does not capture debt service, and the revenue also doesn't capture, what is that called?
Appreciation.
No, Jimmy is not in here.
Jimmy's here, but Mike's not.
Oh, he's behind the aid to construction. It doesn't capture aid to construction either.
That's additional revenue.
So it's additional revenue. So we don't have all those. I can bring that back with Mike. I tried to do this as a quick and dirty for the board to see how things would move forward.
My
Based on,
question was debt service.
Yeah.
Where we're figuring debt.
so debt service is in the next column of Mike's cash flow budget. That's also got aid to construction. We can bring more of that info. What I wanted to show is the revenue growth based on customer growth.
Right.
So we're going to be at just over 1,000 customers by the end of this year. We're going to build out the 3 more project areas next year. We're anticipating to be at 2,800 customers by the end of 2026. However, most of those customers will be added in the 3rd and 4th quarter of the year. So that's not the full revenue potential from that customer base. If we were to take the full revenue customer potential from that customer base, now we're into 2020, yeah. If we were just to roll it over 2020, 26 numbers and add no more customers, but have that same number of customers for the entire year, that would put us at 2.7 million. But we will be adding more customers in 2027 because we're going to also be building out the Bede area and Southeast Jefferson County, which is a large area.
So You don't have a figure for 2027 for the projected expenses.
I don't, because my feeling is it's going to be very close to that 3 million. We anticipated a growth for 2026. We're at full staff. We're at most of our expenses. I don't see that number going up a lot more. Now, we will have more expenses on the loan repayment because at that point, all of our loans will have been paid out to do the capital construction. So that will come, and I will have that number for all of you to review. But I just
would
kind of
say-
wanted to show,
And I would say be prepared to make that part of the budget.
I will,
because it's
that
already-
will definitely be part of the budget, but just showing,
Granular expense, projected expense would be granular, and I'd be interested to track that.
yep, and we're gonna get that, but since there was questions about where we're going, this is
Yep.
how we are adding the customers. So 2027, if we added no more customers, we'd be at 2,700. We will add customers in 27. So that's the 27.2. So I'm budgeting right about 3 million. So we'll be close to break even without accounting for the not the aid to construction, without the principal payment on the debt. The other numbers that aren't covered in there is also the grant covers part of the labor, which offsets some of the expenses, yada, yada, yada. That's the fine details that I can't give today.
I was gonna ask, did you put an escalator in there? Because these are all union employees for, cost of living or raises or contract issues or whatever. Has that been?
We will do that when we come back with the fine detail, but I just wanted to show with 2028, we add the rest of those customers who've already signed up for those grant areas at a very low average revenue per customer, which adds another $1 million, which puts us up over 3.7 million in 2028. We should be better than break even at that time. We'll bring more detail. It was a quick and dirty.
And the YE customers, is that year end?
Yes, that's the number.
Kind of
has to be very-
anticipated
yeah.
projected customers, and you've kind of got it topping out at 3975 because you don't have any new passings at that point, or what's kind of the thought?
No, that's just at the projected take rate.
Okay,
So all of this is conservative numbers. It's at a lower than it. So for these numbers, our average revenue per customer projection is around 70. Right now, we're seeing 90.
okay.
For these numbers, we're only doing the take rate that's estimated in the grant, not the overages that we're seeing in the actual sign up. So I'm trying to keep it as conservative as possible.
Okay.
And again, we'll bring back more of those expenses.
It's good to know. And I think too, when we get to the budget, we've had a couple of budget presentations that are pretty similar. And at least I don't know if the other commissioners are interested in this, but I would like us to take a little bit of time focusing on each business line, talking a little bit about broadband and the budget and the capital plans and the plans looking ahead, talking about water and its budget and its plans. And, because we have a new set of eyes here,
Yep.
looking at those business lines and deciding if, adjustments need to be made. Our budget approvals have been pretty routine. It feels like the last few years. And I think now with Joe, you here, I think it would be helpful to have a little more of a deep dive into each business line. I don't know if that kind of resonates with the other
Yeah,
commissioners.
and again, I even have one more granular question too, so.
Go for
Commissioner
it.
Duper, I was just going to address your first question about there isn't escalators. Well, there aren't escalators on the revenue projections either for the product lines. And if you have an incumbent, you know that they update their costs on a regular basis. So I think what Will is doing here is a reasonable current dollar projection out into the future for what the plans are. So
Yeah, and then the other question I had too is, and this is a bit of a policy question, I guess, and to make sure that we're being transparent, are we billing the broadband side for pole attachments on our fiber, like we would to an ISP to attach to our pole? How are we working the pole attachment side of the equation?
though I can't answer that question today, I do know that a very large other utility that has a significant fiber plant towards the south end of Puget Sound does not charge themselves pole attachment fees. So if we were to do that, we'd be inconsistent with a very large neighbor. So
Well, and I think it's a fair question to ask, and then I don't know if now's the right time to get into it, but I think it gets into the question, okay, who owns the poles? does the PUD own the poles? Does the electric utility own the poles? Does broad, it's like, should one side be paying the other? So I can see some of the issues.
And again, I don't know the exact details of that down south, but we're in open access, taking, federal money and that sort of thing. I want to make sure we don't do something that we shouldn't along the way here, that we're dotting.
I'll just jump in here for a second and just say definitively, we operate an open access network consistent with state law.
Thank you.
Okay. Please continue, Joe, if you have more reports. And I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Happy to bring more. We'll continue to bring more information. I'd done the revenue projection for Mike for the last meeting, so I just added more details to share.
Yeah, things seem like they're changing relatively quickly, and it's nice to get
Yeah.
fairly frequent updates, like, even every other month, I think at this point is kind of not a bad thing to do.
Happy to do it.
Okay.
Excited about the
And I think
project.
your next every other month will be budget, so you can just chop that one up. You'll be there.
Yep.
Okay, who's next?
Well, I'm gonna go next. Let me just get myself in a position to share my screen yet again. And we're just gonna take a little walk through the website to talk about some of the changes that we're hoping to make.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Let me move this annoying toolbar out of the way so I can see everything. Okay, right now, we are using the Zoom platform for all of our meetings. We're looking at saving some money and doing some streamlining and moving to Teams to host the meetings. We've done some testing. We're looking at some options for that. I don't believe we have a date or anything on that, Shannon. So that's one of the things we're looking at doing. We're looking at trying to streamline our services and save a little bit of money where we can. It functions mostly similarly. There are some advantages to Zoom. There are some advantages to Team. We're going to kind of work through those. We'll be in touch about that.
One of the things that I had a meeting with Shannon where she brought this up with me. And one of the things I thought of as we were sitting here was that unfortunate event where we had an outsider take over the screen and put up some inappropriate content. I hope that's one of the things we look at with Teams, that we can maintain control over who can come in and how that works.
Yeah, we can fit. So right now, the way that we do the meetings, we allow the public to view. We see the public that's there all the time. If we want to prevent that from ever happening, we would have to transition to webinar. We did enable the webinar option on Zoom, and the webinar option does not allow for the same level of participation. It basically makes them viewers, and then you could admit a participant to join the meeting for a few minutes when they make their comment, and then you kick them back out. And that's an option. That is the most secure way, and that is how you prevent Zoom bombing. That's what the county has moved to, and I believe the city as well.
So does Microsoft Teams have that
They
option?
both have that option, yeah.
We know what that option costs. I guess I would just price that in as your.
We already added it to Zoom. I think it was an extra $50 a month.
Okay. So
Because if it happens again, there will not be a question. We will be doing it.
I don't think we should, wonder if it's going to happen again. I would just think we should just move to that and figure out how to make that as smooth and streamlined
If
experience.
If that is the will of the commissioners, we can do that by the next meeting, but it will limit the public participation, which I know has been a priority. That has been staff's concern.
Okay. So under a webinar, everybody's seeing stuff. They're seeing the same content. They're seeing the same comments. But when they want to comment, how would that work?
They do the same thing, and then they raise their hand, and then the meeting administrator, which would either be myself or Shannon or whoever here that time, could acknowledge them. We'd have to stop the meeting to let you know, and so it would be a little bit more awkward and formal, but it's certainly doable. It's safer by far.
So would the president of the board see it up on the screen? Would they see the hand raised on the screen, or only the administrator is going to see it?
The
That's
administrator.
the difference.
We can set it up so that you can see it as well, but then you're going to be distracted. It's going to be more difficult. It's not as easy as seeing something pop up over here. Then
Okay.
you'd have to be looking at your computer the whole time.
Okay. Commissioners have any feedback at this time on that issue?
I'm fine with going to that format. I think we need to be proactive. We don't need a repeat experience.
Yeah, I had the webinar contracted hours after that. I heard that happened. So if that's, we can have it by the next meeting, not. a
Yeah,
problem.
I think my vision, my preference would be just to go to it and then work through what the issues are in terms of making it easy for people. We'll hear about, hey, I was trying to call in, I couldn't. I'd say the sooner we start hearing that, just have that be the new normal. I think having the meeting safe and secure is important.
I would maybe say not quite as quickly because we have the budget hearing and other things coming up that may
Maybe
not
wait.
be as intuitive to the public to interact. So maybe after the budget hearing might be more appropriate to change our
Platforms.
platform. Just that would be my 2 cents on it. And that's just a little over a month away.
What do you guys think on that, Joe?
The will of the commissioners is what I'm interested in. So if that alternate proposal that Dan has put forward works for the rest of you, then we'll make it happen.
Because I don't know how intuitive it'll be to the public, especially with a hearing involved, change without really messaging it to the public either. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's gonna take some time to do a few things anyway. If we just waited until after the budget adoption and then have the goal of the first meeting after budget adoption, go to the new platform, because usually it's a lower intensity time frame of,
It's October, right? So we'd start in October on the new format.
well,
Monday is our.
it depends. Yeah, I think that's the soonest we can adopt it is the first Monday in October. Sometimes it's later than that, but.
It's the 6th that we would do.
Mhm.
So after the budget.
After that.
Yeah, with the understanding if we get Zoom bombed again, we don't have a choice. Okay.
Right, but
Yep.
you've set up, but you've got. the
We're ready to
weather.
go anytime. I can switch it over.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. The next change that we wanted to make is in how we capture all the meeting data. We have over the last number of years said, yes, we can do that to just about every request. And it's piled up into an enormous amount of work for Jameson and now Shannon as she's come aboard. And as I walked through the Rube Goldberg method of saving all those different files to all those different places, it became clear that we can no longer do it that way. It's just not, it's not a wise way to run a utility. So you remember we started off with the recordings. And we tried to, over time, listen to the public and make them more accessible and easy to use. Hold on, I have to move things on my screen so I can move things on the big screen. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. The audio, there we go. So we set up this recording archive and it had all the agendas in it. And we set up all these nifty little chapters. We turned it into like a podcast and
Right.
transcript and all those things,
Remember
which
there
were
was-
very handy during COVID and
Yeah, and there
Yep.
was different things where people wanted to know, okay, I just want to jump to the part where it's talking about this.
Yeah.
And
and you could, and it was great. But then as time moved on and the meetings changed, we started adding video. We subscribed to the new agenda management system so that we weren't printing 50 different agendas between Thursday and Tuesday. Those tools have worked great. We're looking to get rid of a number of the processes and move to a streamlined process where we're just doing the video recording and then keeping all of the minutes and agendas the same way. But the software tool that we have, excuse me, more. If we go to, I kind of hid it over in the, where's the board? There you are. Let's look at you guys for a minute. We scroll down. Those are nice photos. I like those. Agendas and calendars down in the bottom there. So this is basically our agenda platforms, meeting archives, pre-built tool that already exists. We have access to it. We haven't, it takes a little bit more playing. It's not as friendly user experience wise as I think our current table is, where you can just pop and find everything, but it has some nice features. So you can go to each meeting. Let's see, the upcoming meeting, the past meetings. So you go to the meeting. You can see the agenda. When the video is done, you'll see the link for the video. You can see everything right there. But the nice thing that it has is over here, it has this really great keyword search So if we can think of some random meeting, what was it? Was it Blue Star?
Or
Blue-
Eagle Ridge or
So Eagle Ridge. Oh, let me spell it right. That would help. So it'll come up with wherever Eagle Ridge, and it'll show you the minutes, it'll show you the agendas and all the different places. And you can type in Eagle Ridge minutes, blue banners. You remember the blue banners discussion that we had a bunch of years back? So great keyword search, which is really helpful. So that's been available to us the whole time. So
Okay.
we want to move forward, and let me go back. We want to discontinue. Well, I shouldn't say discontinue. We will keep this page as a separate link down at the bottom or somewhere else. We want to move the meeting archives to that new feature and have everything housed through the other platform that I just showed you.
And my understanding of the goal of this is when we're building agendas and we're doing meeting recordings, everything is done through this pre-built
Correct.
process. So we're
Yep.
not having to by hand remember to put things in certain places, and it'll be more kind of automated and it'll streamline it for staff.
When the agendas are built, the calendar is built, all the links are there, everything is there in one place. And instead of right now, to create the audio files, we have to, Jameson has to take the video file, separate the audio file, process the audio file, store it in 2 different places. And we just want to get away from all that. Like I said, our goal was to make it as easy for the user as possible. We've done that, but we need to dial it back a little bit. We've got the technology's changed, and this is the direction we'd like to go.
Okay. And I presume as we do this, we'll probably hear from people about what's working or what's not working, or if they're having a hard time finding things. And I'd say it may just take a few meetings, and then we can hear that feedback. And if we have to make any more adjustments to maintain the transparency and the ability for people to see what we're doing and participate, we can do that.
Correct.
So moving forward, there will no longer be a separate audio file, only the video file,
That-
and people can search using keywords.
Correct. Yep. And we can explore, they have a way to timestamp videos. We haven't, I'd like to have that be like a longer term thing we can look for. Just the way that we timestamp the audio, we can theoretically timestamp the video, but I don't want to take that on anytime soon. I want to reduce work first before we add any features.
And are we aware of anybody who, I don't even know what kind of devices you would use to listen to audio versus video, because I'm just using computers and I'm presuming it would work, or my iPhone, it would work,
It's just over YouTube. All the meetings are already saved to YouTube, and then they're linked back here through YouTube, and you can play it through this device.
Hmm.
The hard part is if you wouldn't be able to download the audio, which some of our attendees like to do. That we would
Okay.
lose that feature.
Okay.
So is there an opportunity to incorporate AI to make it much more accessible? Our customers.
We can explore some options. And if the commissioners want us to continue the audio feature, and we give up a couple other features, I can continue to have Jameson break out the audio.
Well, I'm thinking as an alternative to having Jameson break things out.
I don't know of
And
one.
time to do that if.
Yeah, we can research it, but I don't know how long that would take. I haven't seen anything. AI has a lot of, its reputation is better than its delivery in my experience so far. So,
And I guess where I'd like to go is to, staff is coming back to us saying, this will save a lot of staff time, make it more efficient for us. We can avoid mistakes. I'd like to try that. And then I'd like to try and hear from customers if they're having a specific issue here. What is your specific issue? What are you trying to do that you're not able to do? This is theoretical, that you weren't, you're not able to do now that you used to be able to do. Hear that and then make those adjustments. That's kind of where I would prefer we go.
and one of our next steps is we would actually need the commission to rescind the audio recording policy, which is already a little out of date anyway, since we
Okay.
wouldn't be doing audio.
So do we have a policy that relates to video, or
We don't, but we can come up with that.
why don't we just, I guess just thinking on the fly here, just, revise the policy to be one of how we're being as transparent as possible. And if it just says video and then it says we're not doing the audio, bring it back to us in whatever form is appropriate.
Can do.
I'm in favor of efficiencies that'll help the staff free them up to do other things. And it sounds like staff is taking into account, the intuitive nature of this for the public to be able to interact and respond and do whatever. I think the third leg of this to me is messaging. If we put this in the newsletter, what we're contemplating, and put it on the website itself to get people prepared for that we are going to make these changes, everything we can do there, maybe a fluff piece in one of the local papers even, I don't know. As long as we're doing those things, I don't have any objections to moving forward.
I can have Jameson record a walkthrough video of it, put it out on social media and our website, share it.
Well, and it's, I think the culture of our organization is once we got past this, there was like in the old days where the PUD wasn't recording things and making them available. Once we got into it, we've been, I think, one of the leaders
We have,
in
yeah.
the utilities and making our meetings easy to follow, easy to listen to if you couldn't be there. And I think that's part of our culture, and I think it's where it should be.
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Looks like Cammie has her hand up.
Hey, Cammie. Looks like you might be muted. There you go.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. So there will no longer be audio recordings of the meetings?
There will be just the video.
Okay, so I need the audio recordings to do the minutes.
She uses the audio to fix the minutes to.
Yeah.
So are we going to talk about the minutes also?
We can do we can talk about the minutes. Like I said, and we can continue to pull out the audio file.
Okay.
We have to for the time being, but eventually we want to get rid of it.
Cami, I think I just want to clarify that it's video and audio is the product that is the standard offering of the tool that we're using. So you can turn off the video and still keep listening to the audio.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification.
And is it searchable? The video?
The video is not searchable. It's
Okay.
not searchable right now. And we can look at leveraging YouTube. Through YouTube, there are more tools that way we could look at leveraging, but we don't have them to present at this time.
Joel, are you familiar with any state laws that deal with how we're supposed to be recording meetings? Or is it just minutes and official actions are noted?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some revisions to the Public Disclosure Act regarding having recordings available. But I'll take a look while we're in this meeting and just see if it's only audio. My guess is it's a video cover that.
Okay. And again, I think we're not planning to make any changes until later in October is what we're talking about
Correct.
right now.
Yep.
Okay. So that gives you some time, Joel, too. And Cammie also offline, whoever's communicating with Cammie about what we're doing, be in touch. Okay.
Make a comment now.
Question or comment, fire away.
What I find most valuable, like to go back and look at the details on the presentations, like the FCS rate studies, the budgets, the broadband. So I hope it'll be easy, or sometimes I wade through a big long agenda PDF file and then the presentation is way down at the bottom. If I find it, that's okay, but I don't want to get worse than that. I want to get the same or better.
Can I show Mr. Stover
Sure.
one of the features? It's already in existence, but if we went to the, let's go to a previous meeting in a different month. So if we go to the October 5th regular meeting. So we already have this built into let's just look at the agenda packet on its own screen. You scroll down, Phil, in the first page where it has the listing of the agenda, all these blue highlighted are hyperlinks, and it'll take you to whatever that presentation is. So if we went to,
And this is the one we intend to go to.
this is
exclusively.
existing. We've had this for 5 years now.
And this is how it would work in the future.
Yep. So public words, board, there we go, right to the presentation. The only bummer is it doesn't go right back. So then you have to go
Yeah.
to the side
we
and
have to
go.
Go back to the top.
I don't like that, but you can go, if you know which one, you can go there very quickly.
That's why I'm always slow in the meetings going,
Yep.
going back.
Me,
some
I get stuck
buried
there
in
too.
the agenda someplace.
Okay.
Okay.
But if you click on one of those links, you're pulling up the, you're pulling up the presentation slides. You're not pulling up the audio that was part of the presentation, so you're missing a good deal of content.
Correct.
Seeing the PowerPoints.
Yeah, and I could show, there's a feature that the new software platform showing that new portal has a feature where it's divided on one side, it shows you the agenda and it shows you the video. And if the commission so desires, next year we can look at time stamping each agenda item so it fast forwards it in the video. It just takes it, that is a manual staff task that we're already doing for the audio. We can do it for the video, but it will take some time.
I guess overall, do you still see savings in the process?
Yeah, it would still save a bunch of time if
if
we're not.
even
have-
if we did that.
He has to manually manipulate every video and audio file and save it to Amazon and all these other things. and
Okay.
We don't want to do that anymore.
Okay. Answer your question?
So just to clarify, Commissioner Collins's question is if that product is still available, and Philip's question about having access to the detailed presentation for after analysis and study is also available. So both of those are being
Yep.
proposed for going forward.
Yep, we get it.
And Roger had asked about the some of the files not being there before the meetings. If there's ever a presentation that's not included before the meeting, we always make sure to add it after. So it's in the record. Sometimes they're not finished before the meeting.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we're also trying to work towards is the commissioners appreciate it too when the information is available at the time of the meeting and it's in the packet. So I think that's what we'd like to go towards.
And that's the norm. The
Yeah.
example that keeps being cited is the preliminary budget that was in development.
Right.
Right up until go live for that preliminary discussion. Then we're bringing that back with responses to the feedback.
Okay.
Okay, then next up is Jose is going to bring an update on the Jose Escalera is going to bring an update on the Hadlock sewage treatment plant.
So my update is.
Jose, would you mind moving up closer so we can all see you? You're kind of hidden behind Shannon there from.
So,
Thank you.
update. We will be going live with the sewer treatment plant next week, Monday, Tuesday. Expect it flowing by Wednesday or so. This last weekend, we've spent a lot of time doing clean water testing for it. Little tweaks here and there for that, but Ovivo's showing up Sunday night or Sunday morning. They were trying to figure that out today. And we are updating and negotiating on the ILA with the county
Okay.
currently. So
The new staff costs with the number of people that are needed to run it.
correct.
Okay.
Some of the requirements that are coming about with the permitting and responsibilities and stuff like that.
Okay. I guess going forward, I mean, this is kind of an interesting model where we're the operators and technically they're the owners. Joe, have you ever had experience with something like this? I'm just trying to think of what this is going to be like for us as a utility going forward, kind of the ongoing relationship.
Not immediately recalling a parallel situation, but there is, Jose and I were actually just talking about this morning. That creates a little bit of tension between the fact that our licensed technicians are operating the plant and have accountability for that, and the ownership is not us. So we are going to have to navigate and bridge a bit of a gray area in that space. I would prefer to have really good clarity that the county is the owner and permit holder, when we're operating with our licensed staff in accordance with what health is requiring of the county. I don't want to be in an awkward situation where the county is expecting, sorry, the health department is expecting us to do something that the county isn't on board with. So
Yep.
that's what we're trying to navigate right now.
I'm just thinking, I mean, it could be that, it could be many things. You just think of what happens to big, expensive systems when you're operating it. Stuff happens all the time. And I don't, that idea that there's a gap between, I suppose the county might be thinking it's kind of a turnkey thing. We're done and the PUD is going to take care of it. No, there's going to be this ongoing relationship. You're the owner, we're the operators. And the more that we can figure out how to acknowledge that tension and try to have a relationship that can quickly deal with issues like that. And it's not a surprise. Oh, this thing came up. This is what happens when that thing comes up. The county's responsible for this. The PUD is responsible for that. Here's how we communicate it. I just think the more that we can be thinking of those things, because this is a big, huge facility with lots of customers and it's important. And, we need excellent communication and need to figure these things out. So yeah, when you say that you can't really think of another one, it's like, okay, here we go again. Jefferson PUD doing something innovative. Let's try to make it as easy on ourselves as possible.
A little bit in the minutia again about how this is going to function under the premise that was just put forward about ownership versus operating is how we're going to track our people's time and what kind of records will they have access to keep and to report for our own liability or wage or whatever interest we have.
So there's,
How's that going to function?
and that's what we're navigating through because there's going to be 3 functions of it: owner, permit holder, and operator. And we know what the 2 first are. What is that third one with the operator? What's going to be his responsibility according to the ecology classification for this plant? And what those requirements need to be is where we're going to go back and forth.
And I was going to ask Joel, Joel, are you comfortable with this? But why don't you go ahead, Joel, with whatever your question is?
Well, I was going to say a couple things. I mean, one, in regard to the agreement, I think, as I'm remembering the original negotiation over the interlocal agreement, the county and the PUD were doing their level best to try and determine exactly what both Joe and Jose are talking about, just that those gaps that can emerge. So it does make a lot of good sense to revisit that, especially as we move into the actual operations, because it was really trying to project that. In terms of, it's not unique. There's definitely lots of situations that there are facilities owned by one entity and they bring in operators to do it. But, one of my clients is exactly that, but there's a very formal oversight group that meets on a, more than a quarterly basis to go through operations for these things. So, maybe that's something you want to try and figure out, or at least think about just to formalize the meeting process so these things don't go, important items don't go unaddressed.
And who are the county contacts on
Monty.
what's that?
Monty.
So the county public works director is the
That's
point
what
of
I've been
contact.
yeah, that's what I've been communicating with, and some of the draft permitting and such documents we've had to submit and get back have his name on it.
Okay. Have you had a chance to meet Monty Reinders yet, Joe?
Virtually this 5th meeting.
Okay. And he works underneath Josh as the organizational chart there. Yeah, I would think about talking to them about some sort of formalized regular meeting process to work through those things, but that's your call. But
Clarifying my experience, I've been in a number of joint partnerships, but they've always been equal owners. This is a new one for me where I don't have an ownership role. I just have the operator role.
okay. All right.
Before you get up, Jose, can you give us an update on Eagle Ridge?
Eagle Ridge, parts have been ordered. We are waiting on the delivery for the pumps themselves. But all the internals, the vault that it's going into, the lid, all those things have been pushed forward. As soon as I get a better date, understanding of when all those parts will come in, then I'll be able to really schedule in a time of completion roundabout.
And is that work that we're
Thank you.
having contracted out, or are people installing it? How's
We're
that?
having it contracted out,
Okay, and that contractor,
bunch of different contractors.
so, okay, so we've got different contractors doing different work. We've got those
I have a
people.
contractor doing the internals, all the pumping, all the plumbing. I have a contractor doing the vault lay in, the lineup of the old main, how it's gonna come in, tie in those valves, and an electrician to wire everything up, a rep from the pumps, to make sure everything's to spec.
Okay, so it sounds like you're the effective project manager.
Yeah.
Then, okay, and you're waiting for the rest of the parts to show up before
Yeah,
you can
And to
kick
get
it
the,
off.
yeah, and to get the final lead times on, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the VFDs,
With the what's?
variable speed drives,
Okay,
controllers. Yeah,
is that something you think is gonna get resolved fairly soon, or is
Yeah.
it unknown? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the estimate right now in terms of when that will show up?
for delivery,
Yeah,
about 4 weeks.
okay.
And the best estimate for final completion of the project is
Let's
that
say completion of the project, I wouldn't say more than 2 months, 6 weeks,
I'm not looking
7
for hard
weeks.
fast, just a ballpark figure.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're continuing to keep the
Oh, yeah.
people up there
yeah.
updated? Okay. All right. All right, Joe?
Okay, next up, we're
Thank
going to. Opt out. So.
So when you say opt out, so we've got that under unfinished business further down in the
Okay.
agenda.
I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, we don't want to go there yet.
Let me just finish what I intended to talk about. instead of jumping
Okay.
ahead. We just had a meeting with this afternoon. Dan Duper is a member of is this going to be part of your update, or should I cover it?
You go ahead with whatever, because you have the, the deep level of detail. I have more of an overview of policies.
So we're we brought a proposal to the PIF board, what's the P stand for? Public Infrastructure Fund. Thank you. Board received an update about the Sims Gateway project, where the schedule is being modified, and most of the project scheduled work is planned for 2026. So we're conducting a design review of the initial plan for the transmission line. We're going to bring forward an alternative design. It's an overhead, and socialize that with the public, and then make a decision about which way we're going to move forward with that fund. But the plan is still to meet the project objectives that the city of Port Townsend and the port of Port Townsend are asking for, as well as the PUD objectives, which has to do with safety of the yard and the boats that are there proximate to our transmission line, the poplar trees, which are frankly creating risk for both the line and the yard and the public, and also the city of Port Townsend's interest in having a more appropriate vegetation replanted there with a walk corridor in there. So that work is going forward. We're going to be putting out a request for quotations for engineering advice on an alternative design imminently.
So was there a public infrastructure board meeting? When did that happen?
Today, about 2 hours ago.
So there was, and I know that there were some deadlines on the current funding that it was supposed to be spent by a certain time. And I did see Aaron, I'll be part of my report, Aaron Berg with the port, and he said that there was going to be requests made. So did they take any action? The public infrastructure
They
folks?
requested that we bring forward another project for PIF consideration having to do with water in Quilcene. And they also, I believe they rolled forward the funding from 25 into 26. So we're
Okay.
preserving the projects. that we're
Okay.
The
anticipating.
allocated funds are still allocated as
And
previously.
and they extended the dates.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
And then they brought up this other thing. the
Yep.
Wilson deal. Okay.
Yep.
So they seem to understand that we had some scheduling issues and we had some design and cost concerns with the current proposal. Okay.
The stakeholders do. I don't know how generally known, I don't know what the county commissioners in general, I know that the stakeholders with our partners at the port, the city, know for sure. I don't know what the county involvement is, so. On
More to
Gateway.
come on the details.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, on
We
Simpson.
need to see an alternative design, and then we can do some cost comparison. with
So,
state.
so privately, Joe, I understand that you came into this and your experience was when you saw this project, warning signs went off for you that we might have been underestimating the cost of undergrounding the power on Sims Way. So what I'm hearing you saying is you would like to get an engineered or whatever you do in order to get an accurate estimate of alternatives to undergrounding. Are you also getting, and my understanding is that part of our problem is we didn't actually have a good estimate for an underground cost, that we were assuming a certain cost, and your experience led you to believe that the cost would actually be significantly higher than what we were estimating that cost to be.
That is all true. And in a significant project like this, I believe merits at least one alternative proposal on the table.
Okay.
That may meet the same objective. So everything you said is accurate. When I saw the scope and then the estimated costs, those were very different than what my experience would have yielded for a similar type project. But we're getting a little more clarity from the firm that has been serving the PUD on that project to actually have an estimate. So that should be forthcoming.
Okay.
And I fully expect it to be in the realm of what many other folks have, or many other utilities have experienced in this same kind of scope project, and it will demand an alternative design. So we're
Okay.
getting going on the alternative.
We're going to get an
design.
accurate estimate on undergrounding. We're going to get an alternative estimate on an overhead that would still achieve the goals of this project in terms of making the port safe, eliminating tree overhead power conflicts, eliminating safety conflicts with boat mass. And we'd be working with our partners on locations so that all the other goals of this project would still be met.
Precisely. This is all in alignment with what I believe the customers expect of us, is to do our due diligence and make sure that we're meeting the objectives that are placed before us at the best possible cost.
Okay. And then knowing that these are things that you're asking for additional information on, do we have any estimate of when we'll start seeing some of those numbers and reports we can have? Because people will probably be asking us questions, and until we have actual information, it's going to be hard to respond with anything firm other than we're staying committed to the goals of the project.
I don't expect the overhead solution to be particularly novel. So once we have an engineering firm under contract, my wild guess is 8 weeks to see a preliminary design. But Jimmy, does that sound okay?
Okay. So in a couple months, we'll have better information.
Probably going to take us a month to get somebody under contract and a couple of months for them to give us a preliminary design.
maybe
I would
3
estimate
months.
3 months, yeah.
Okay. And again, so bottom line is nothing's happening fast down there. This would be 2026.
Just pushed it out.
Yeah. And the ports, their project is permitted. And I know that one of the issues that came up in the past was, and I can't remember if when the leaves are off the trees, it gets so weird to be in this kind of minute detail on something that's as important as this. That line needing to carry power, and our peak times are in the middle of the winter. Is there anything that would lead us to believe that we're going to have, we could have problems using that line to its fullest extent over this winter if those trees are still there?
I think there's a sweet spot to do this. Both design concepts envision the poplars being removed. it's likely that there's a sweet spot in the early spring, late winter where our loads have peaked and are starting to relax before the leaves come back in. That's probably the window that we're aiming to take care of the trees in.
And then we should have numbers on what we're actually doing, and our design should hopefully be done by that point also.
Before my commitment is to have the design far enough along that the public can give us feedback on the preferred alternative before we begin work on the project, which means cutting the poplars down.
Yeah, and then leafing out happens probably in the, early mid-March or something like that, sometime in March. Okay. Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful.
So if that is the case, there could be still a little risk. I mean, there could be still some cold temperatures when we need to take those trees down. So we're just going to try to minimize that risk to
Okay.
the extent that we can.
Okay,
There's
Appreciate
risk in
the
waiting
update.
for those leaves to come back and having a much heavier load for
right.
our folks taking on the trees.
Okay, Commissioner, questions at this point on this one? Okay, please proceed.
Well, that wraps up my manager and staff report.
Okay, very good. So we're down to commissioner reports. Ken, are you willing to go first?
I am willing. And I will. So on the 21st last month, I attended the exit interview for the state audit that was conducted in the Public Utility Risk Management Services. And they got an unmodified clean audit, and that covered from January 23rd, 2023 through 12/31/24. There were no concerns with PERM's processes. They found that they were compliant with all applicable laws, contracts, etc. They evaluated potential risks. They did not find any evidence that any controls had been circumvented. The next audit will be conducted December of 2026. And that information, the full audit report, is available online. On the 26th, I met with the general manager and attended the PUD special board meeting. Met with the general manager this morning. I was planning on meeting with the Waputa Awards Committee on the 4th, but that meeting has been canceled because there weren't any nominations. Again, looking forward, I'll meet with the general manager on the 9th and on the 16th.
Was
Okay,
that for water awards? What awards were they expecting? Just out of curiosity, at Waputa.
No, I think it was for the different categories of awards, not simply water.
Okay.
interesting.
You know, like the Citizenship Award.
Okay. And you want to go, Dan?
Yep, I'll go ahead and go here. So I got a little bit longer because I missed the one meeting there. So I attended the Public Power Council meeting August 6th and 7th. Highlights from that were Franklin PUD new GM Victor Fuentes was elected to the PPC Executive Board. BPA wants our new provider of choice contracts inked by December 1st of this year. That's their schedule there.
And I mean, apologies, you go, Victor Fuentes, do you know who he is?
Yes, yeah, he was the interim. I forget which department he was in charge of. He might even have been the assistant general manager, but he was their interim general manager, and now he's been elevated. They've made him actual general manager.
And which
at
organization?
Franklin. PUD.
Franklin. And then Joe, do you feel like you're up to speed with what we're doing with BPA and our BPA contacts?
In full disclosure, I've forwarded Joe a little bit of information on certain topics.
I could basically say no to any thing that you asked me about whether I feel like I'm up to speed on. So
Okay.
no to that. And
Normal up to speed. Do you have?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack in that space. I think there's been a lot of other utilities that have been obviously advocating and trying to hold Bonneville accountable to provide products that are a good value and meet the needs of the region. So we're not going to change that at this point.
Right.
The real crux of the decision is going to be what product we take beyond tier one
Right.
energy. And I've discussed this with each of you individually, and we're going to figure that. We have some time to figure that out into
Right.
springtime.
This is the tier 2 product. Do we just want to take the long-term tier 2 product that BPA offers, or do we want to pursue some other
Right.
option?
And frankly, even if I had been up to speed, there's things that are changing a little bit in this space. So they just did a different allocation, which changes the calculus for us potentially.
We had the BPA rep come sometime in late
And
spring or
Marcus
whatever.
has met or spoken with Joe a little bit, so he's kind
Okay.
of keeping Joe up to speed.
Yeah.
I felt Joe was kind of somewhat up to speed, not that we needed him to be uber informed, but I think he's getting
Yeah.
the basic
And I'm
information.
sorry to interrupt your
No
report.
worries.
I think it's timely. And we're also members of WAPAG. And I don't know if that's a group you're familiar with,
Yeah.
but they do a lot of getting into the nitty gritty details on advocacy for utilities like us, our size, with BPA. And I know we have a zillion memberships that you probably can't tune into all of them. And they had an in-person meeting recently that I wasn't able to go to. But I'm just thinking that before December 1st, we probably should have a special meeting or something where Marcus is brought in and you feel like you've had enough time to zoom in on the issues, and that we meet one more time before we put our names on the line and sign it.
Yeah. I've been trying to keep the fire hose at about 20 PSI and rather than 100 PSI. So I do slip Joe some information, and I'll speak about a little bit in here about WAPAG and other things that are going
Okay.
on. Leave it to his discretion to how deep into the weeds. And if he asks me questions or asks Marcus a question or one of you guys, that way he can take it a little bit at his own speed. So.
Okay. And just so the public knows, basically we don't have a lot of negotiating power with BPA. Us and a lot of other utilities have been working with BPA for quite a while to try and address our concerns about our tier 1 allocation and everything else. We're going to be presented kind of a template contract that us, other utilities like us are required to sign with just a few options. And it seems like, we just have a little bit of, I think, additional informative work so we understand what we're signing up for at the time.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead. I was done. Yep.
Correction, I misspoke, Dan. It was the Water Wastewater Outstanding Employee of the Year Award,
Okay.
for which there were no nominees.
Okay.
Oh, we missed the boat. Darn.
Well, once we get our system online, hopefully we can go for that next year. Go ahead.
So, and again, on WAPAG too, I listened to that. It's in my report, I think, but I'll touch on a little bit. I went through the whole meeting, and in relationship to this discussion, and what Joe said was a little bit accurate. There's still some moving targets with the contract high water marks, and whether we gain a little or lose a little still remains to be seen, and it's tied in with other things as well. So
Okay.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that one.
Okay.
So again, I attended our booth at the Jefferson County Fair on August 8th and 9th. It's always great to see the public and do the fair. Met with Joe Wilson GM on August 11th. I attended the NOAA meeting on August 13th. I know you guys probably gave a report on that last meeting. I attended the Puget Sound to Pacific Trail Group on August 14th. Our PUD is coordinating with this group to find passage along the East Discovery Bay Highway 20 route to get down to the Olympic Discovery Trail. I don't know who on staff is. I know there's some continuity. They're talking to somebody at utility. I know we purchased property from the county, and we've looked at doing other things. So we're working with that group to try and there's actual construction going on up near the Anderson Lake Road right now that they had money for, and they're actually building trail up there somewhere.
Mhm.
So again, I haven't been up to look at it, but I did hear that at that meeting as well. So again, I was on vacation August 17th through August 24th, but I did manage to make it back in time to attend the PUD family picnic on August 24th. It's great to see a great turnout, a lot of hard work by staff to set that up and do their thing. And so that was kind of fun to watch everybody doing that. A nice day for that. I met again with Joe Wilson on August 25th. And I attended our special budget meeting on August 26th. I listened in via Zoom to the WAPEG meeting on August 27th. Again, there were presentations about the provider of choice contract timelines, the current state of the residential exchange, and the historical numbers and potential outcomes moving forward with that residential exchange. That's the next big thing that's on the radar with the contracts and BPA, is how they're going to deal with that particular program. So that's going to get into the legal weeds before that one's done. So just a heads up on that. There was a representative or a presentation on the 2026 BPA rate case impacts to purchase power agreement customers. An update on BPA transmission planning procedures, their queue that they have, how they're rejiggering that all around to prioritize and condense that into what makes the most sense and who should take priority. And there's some consternation over that one. Again, I won't get into any details or numbers because it's just confusing. So for us, it's not that big of an issue at the moment. I'm going to attend the Public Power Council meeting on September 3rd and 4th. Going to attend the Jefferson County Fire Chiefs meeting and meet with Joe Wilson on September 8th. I'm going to attend the NOAANET meeting on September 10th. I will attend the Quilcene Fair. I had September 13th. I talked to Jameson today. I believe that's the 20th now, right? The date for the fair in Quilcene. I don't know. Check that your calendars for that one. I think
I'm sorry, what was that date
I
again?
think
Dennis?
it's
I have some-
September 20th. It should be a Saturday. Jameson, we have.
Anybody know?
Yeah, it's going to be the Quilcene Fair and Parade, and where it sounds like we're going to have a couple of booths and a presence in the parade. So just as an FYI. I originally had it for the 13th, but I saw Jameson in hallways today, and he said, no, it's the 20th.
We'll see Fair,
That's a Saturday.
September 20th, 10 to 3.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to visit Chelan PUD with the PUD Executive Board on September 15th. I'm going to attend our BOC meeting on September 16th via Zoom because I'll be on the road for Waputa that week. So just as an FYI, our next meeting, I will be online for that.
Okay.
And again, I don't know what exactly, you'll have it in your report, knowing that what where responsibilities are going to be, what kind of votes and what representatives, maybe you can speak to that a little bit about what's happening there.
Sure. So on the 20th, met with Joe. On the 21st, had a lunch meeting with Adam Birnbaum, one of our representatives to the state legislature, and walked in the port with Aaron Berg and talked with him a little bit about the ports project and some of our issues down there. And I understand that staff met with Adam Birnbaum today. How did that go?
It was a very nice meeting, very helpful.
Okay, good. Went to the event on the 24th that staff put on at Fort Worden. I thought that was a great event. I appreciate everybody who showed up. Encourage anybody who didn't to come next time we do one of those. Had our special budget meeting on the 26th, working through, I think, some issues that hopefully the next budget meeting will be a little smoother and a little more informative for everybody. But I appreciate that was necessary to start getting our hands on it and Joe's hands on it. Met with Shannon on the 27th and learned a little bit about some of these things you've been talking about with the website and minutes and everything else. Met with Joel Paisner on the 28th. Looking ahead, PNUC is having a virtual meeting on the 5th, the day after the PPC meetings, or live. I don't know if it's going to be live or not. I just have virtual on my calendar. So
I may have changed it. I think it might be virtual. I don't remember.
yeah,
either.
it's normally when they do virtual, it's all virtual. So I think it might be virtual. And then on the 10th, NOAANET's meeting. And I sent an email to Curtis, but I sent it just before this meeting. So I don't know if I'm going live or not to that one. And I don't know, do we have any update on Curtis met with NOAANET and Joe and I were also there about trying to get this second loop off. And I know things take longer than people think. Curtis had this really optimistic view of how quickly we could kind of be exploring it. But is there any update on where we're at with that project with NOAANET?
Yes, Curtis gave an update at our team leadership meeting this morning, and Jefferson County has concluded all of the testing in conjunction with NOAANET on the fiber path. Everything looks great. We're just
Cool.
waiting now for NOAANET to present a price for accessing that path.
Okay, so will that be like a recurring monthly
Correct.
kind of thing? And do they have, is this a policy that they have, or does staff get to make up a number? How does that work?
No,
with-
this is a product that they sell, so they should be able to provide us with an estimate for a monthly recurring cost.
Okay,
They may want additional contractual items in order to create that monthly recurring cost, but we will see when they give it to us.
okay.
And Curtis is planning on attending that.
He's going to
meeting
be there
for-
live.
Yep.
Joe, are you planning to go, or are you going to do that remote, or what was your? So they are having, and in answer to Dan, so
Bylaws.
they're
and-
going to have a special member meeting before the regular board meeting, and the purpose of the special member meeting is to approve those resolutions, which would make the changes to the bylaws and admit the new member to NOAANET, which is Broadlink, I think is their name, the
Do we
Spokane.
have any
Spokane
objections or
PD.
any concerns with that?
We basically acted as a board previously, authorizing myself to support it, and I would presume that would also authorize Joe to support those two actions. And I think you can participate remotely. So if you decide not to go, that's fine. I've got my kid back and school has started, so I think I may choose to participate remotely. It feels like we've gotten a lot of good progress with NOAANET, so that I think it, we don't have to be there with in person at every meeting, holding extra special meetings with staff. But I guess what's the next step on that with NOAANET, lighting that second loop up? So we've sent the data to them. We're just looking for a number of what's it going to cost to light it up and use the product.
Yep, we're just waiting for the price. That's really the next step.
Okay.
And yeah, we're expecting it by the end of this week.
Okay.
And if not, the end of this week, early next week.
And again, the meeting is next week, right?
If I could just tag on to Will's update, our understanding is there isn't any network work on the infrastructure itself. It's basically logical work on their switches, not necessitating any additional work on the fiber system.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I would be leaning to participate remotely unless there feels like there's something that, I need to be over there for. And I guess it would be nice to know by the end of the week if we've heard anything, or
We can update you, Jeff.
and is Curtis talking to Mike, or who's the point person on the
He's
NOAANET
talking to
side? Okay. All right. Well, I can communicate with Curtis directly too. All right. That's my report.
I did have not a revision, but an addition. I did overlook the PIF board meeting today. There were a couple other things I'll speak to. I skipped over that one little
Okay.
placeholder I had.
Sure.
And at that meeting today, it was brought forward. Well, let me start reverse here. The
And I guess
majority.
we're somehow we've managed to use an hour and a half of our meeting so far. So anyway,
Yeah.
just be aware of
Yeah,
that.
real quick on the PIF board, the majority of available PIF funding is about 340,000 for 2026, and it's going to be carried over into 2027. All the current things that we're funding those will carry over and continue as well. But it was brought up about a potential PUD/county water project in Quilcene may receive a PIF carve out to deal with some water supply issues in Quilcene. No dollar amount is really attached to it yet. Our general manager offered to do a little bit of due diligence, and he's going to get back to them by October 3rd on what exactly our involvement or necessity with us to be involved will be. I'll let Joe maybe tack onto that a little bit.
Yeah, just more specifically, that's going to end up being Jose Escalar's assignment. So he's going to further develop that project plan or proposal to meet the county's request.
So it'll be a carve out from that 320,000 that would be available. The number was thrown out there, but I wouldn't be married to it yet with $100,000. It was maybe more, maybe less. But that project would be a standalone. It wouldn't be part of the RFP process for 2026 projects. It would be a carve out, was my understanding.
Okay.
Of what we talked.
And was that about fire flow, or what was the issue there?
I don't have that level of detail. We haven't been briefed yet as a board, so I'll just leave that to Joe and his staff.
Okay.
It's about water quality
Okay.
and providing filtered water to a number of folks in the area that do not have functioning wells as far as the drinking water goes.
Hmm.
So they're currently using a county park spigot that's supposed to be
Mhm.
for campers, and this would provide an improvement in that, both for the camping experience as also and also for the customers who are wanting this product to be Jose has a design concept that would allow them to take that product um, more more cleanly and also with better accountability, so they're not becoming essentially a free rider on the county's park.
The county park water system. Okay, interesting. All right, I think we're down to consent agenda. Do we have any issues with consent agenda, or can we have a motion
I'll
to
make the
approve?
motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Have anything to
Okay,
pull?
motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, unfinished business, AMI opt-out update.
Sorry, this was where I was trying to go prematurely. So,
All right, and
Mr.
we're,
Randall, I appreciate
and we're
you,
down to about our
keeping-
last half hour.
Background,
Right.
we get help.
Yeah, I'll quickly proceed through this. This is
And this is a first touch too, isn't it?
a second touch.
Oh, second
So
touch,
this
that's
is
right.
a second touch on this concept that we're under collecting on the costs associated with serving our customers who prefer to not have communicating meters. So we heard feedback in the first round from commissioners, and we regrouped and tried to come up with an offering that we think that community will appreciate more. And so we're gonna share it with you, and then we're gonna propose that we do some customer outreach, get their feedback, and then come back to you once we've incorporated that feedback into the proposal. So we do offer customer choice. We have historically not charged low-income customers for the opt-out costs, and we have somewhat uniquely, apparently in our industry, offered solar net metering customers an opt-out option as well. And so here's some stats that we have from customer service. So this is not atypical that 2 to 5% are opt-out folks in the community. 61 of those are designated as low income, 14 are solar net meters. And we did a cost of service study in our first touch on this and estimated the cost to be about $28. Now, heard some feedback from y'all that you had some concerns about how that was calculated, but that's what our cost of service experts provided as the based on our data and staff input. So we've already talked about this. In the interest of time, I'll just move along unless there's any questions about that. So we did engage our Wapuda partners and found out some information that there aren't any other PUDs that have a solar opt-out program, and not even all of the PUDs have an opt-out an opt-out from the communicating meter. So what we're proposing as a revision to our last proposal is, instead of manually reading the meters every month, we're proposing that we manually read them every other month and allow our billing system to calculate an estimated read in the off months. So the largest cost in doing manual reading is sending the meter technician out to do the meter read. So what we're proposing to do is do that at half frequency and roughly cut the cost in half. And our system does, our billing system does have a feature that makes a billing estimate reasonable.
So question about a true up. How would you work? Because you're going to estimate at least 1 month, if not both. I mean, if I'm hearing this right. So how would we true it up? And how often would it be trued up?
So just as a point of reference, Snohomish PUD and Tacoma Power before AMI did meter reads every other month. So basically you got a bill every other month, and that was a double the size of the bill it would have been if it was a monthly bill. Snohomish tried to do this. They tried to go to monthly billing without actually increasing their meter read frequency, and they were doing estimates. But this is prior to them deploying AMI, and I've heard that their customers didn't enjoy that experience.
They have a customer service model where we can budget, people can do a budget pay. Is this something that we could utilize, or is it something could develop?
This
or-
this is different than that. So that that is a common offering from utilities to have a budget billing that you're talking about. But the budget billing is generally on regular meter reads. This is on a half frequency meter read where we have the billing system estimating the off month. So essentially, to directly answer your question, the true up is every other month
Okay.
when we go to read it.
So one quick question in the minutia a little bit. What are we gonna look at for that estimate? We're gonna look at the previous year, 2-year, 3-year of what the usage on that address was. I mean, what exactly would go into that estimate?
So whatever our NISC software provider offers, we're not proposing to do any custom code or any novel estimating practice. We're just going to use our off-the-shelf partners tool to do the estimate. My hunch is that it doesn't use fancy algorithms that have heating degree days or cooling degree days or any of that jazz in it. It's just going to probably look at the previous consumption and draw a straight line between the two. Now, in a cooling season like we're in now, it's probably going to underestimate because it's going to be looking back at summer months. And then as the season starts warming up again in the spring, it's probably going to overestimate coming out of cold months. That's my guess on how that algorithm is going to work, but I don't have special insight into how that process works. And remember, this is an alternative. This is a choice. So if customers prefer to not have a communicating read, this is just an economic alternative for us to provide that service and not have to read with manually every single month. So the next, this is still an area of curiosity for me. Apparently, our software that I was just mentioning before doesn't have a means with solar meters of being able to do this estimate. So we're still going to continue to be curious about this and understand if that's a hard limit by the software vendor or if there's just additional complexities involved in it. So TBD, but at this point, what we've been told is that the software does not do estimates when it's a solar meter. So if that's the case, this option wouldn't be available if you have a net meter. But we will try to make it available if there is a practical means by the software vendor to offer it. And then the proposal that staff is bringing forward, that I'm bringing forward, is that we would charge low-income customers to opt out of communicating meters. There isn't obvious.
Joe, could you go back to
yeah.
the previous slide? Thank you.
Do you have a question on this one?
So most of the programs the utility offers for low-income customers have to do with offsetting their energy costs. This is a choice that isn't obviously related to one's income status.
Okay.
So if this proceeds, then we would estimate that the fee would drop from the cost of service rate of $28.50 to $15. So the step that we haven't implemented yet that we wanted to hear your feedback on before we implemented is we wanted to issue a letter to our customers that have selected this service, essentially propose what I've just shared with you, that we would read every other month, that we'd estimate those off months so they would still get a monthly bill. and hear their feedback on that proposal. And if after a 2-week period of hearing feedback, staff would attempt to incorporate that feedback into the proposal and bring it back to the board as a resolution for consideration. Any questions about this
Okay.
staff?
So
proposal?
again, I saw you're sending out letters and we're asking folks to get back to us by September 12th. Are we identifying a meeting that they could then come to, if they want to show up and participate?
We're inviting them to respond in writing.
Okay.
So we haven't decided to schedule a meeting to.
That hasn't been determined yet.
That's right.
So that might be partly based upon what kind of feedback we get.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
If there's very divergent perspectives, that may be the more efficient way to try to navigate 2 different factions, for example, or 3. But if it really depends on what the feedback is that we receive that will set the next steps.
Okay. Questions?
I don't have any issues with proceeding on this pace.
Okay. Ken?
I think it's a good compromise. We'll have to see how well it's received, but I can't imagine people would want to opt to increase their bills to $28, the actual cost of service, rather than going with the estimating, which can be probably fine-tuned a little bit as time goes on.
And, first of all, I appreciate the staff tried to come up with, what can we do to reduce this cost? So I appreciate that. I still have some questions about the numbers that went into the 2830. One was a tax, and then I know that everybody pays 6% on their utility bill. So it seemed like to me that was a tax on a tax. And then there was another category of administration and overhead, and we got the presentation, and there's a Excel file which show where that number came from. And the explanation we got from SCS at the time is, well, we determined this on all your rate cases on, recovering costs on everything. And for me, it's like, but we're doing it twice. They're already paying this as on their base fee. We're covering all. So it seems like some of this, and I realize that we don't have a lot of time to dig into it now. So when we bring this back, I'd like to review these numbers again to make sure that, the 2830 is the right number. And I don't know if you don't have these, Joe, I can forward these to you, because I was just digging through them right now, and Kevin sent them to me or sent them to us on August 1st after the presentation.
Yeah, I'll make sure I have your questions answered when we bring the resolution back,
Okay.
or at least answers to those questions.
And obviously going every other month was to reduce the rolling of the vehicles. I don't know if there were any other things that went into that cost of $15 reduction wise besides that, or
that in comps with our peer group.
Okay.
So basically that's the majority of it. We did show in that presentation what many of our peers are, and it's I believe somewhat on the lower end, but not the lowest. So it was a combination of peer costs, and it was taking out the biggest cost driver, halving the biggest cost driver, which was the meter read itself.
I know you accounted for the difference in cost of the meters themselves in that equation, as I recall.
Yeah, that part of the analysis I wasn't a big fan of. Eventually to do things right, you need to have the same meter. So we're not going to have access to having a different meter. We're just going to have the same meter eventually, and we'll turn off the communicating when the customer does not prefer that mode of operation. It's just not efficient to have a set of both inventory items, even if we would be able to practically
So
achieve
then, in essence, we would be offering fewer options to opt out to then, correct? We wouldn't have the mechanical meter then?
that. Isn't going to be the scope of this resolution, but that is my opinion, that we need to not have a whole bunch of product offerings in terms of what meter vendors. And again, this comes from my experience. This is exactly what was done during a very similar deployment in my past utility. We turned off the radio and made the display correlate with that radio being off. So customers who chose to opt out basically had the same meter, but had a visual indicator that the meter was not communicating.
So again, just part of the messaging, I think, is to make sure that we let people know that there's going to be a change in the opt-out cost and there's going to be a change in the options available. We should not overlook that if that's where we're headed.
Well, all that we're dealing with at this point, though, is the cost.
Yeah.
There isn't not a near-term plan to change the product offerings. I'm talking,
Okay.
well, my comments were related to a longer-term
Mhm.
need to make sure that we have a viable solution going forward. I'm not sure that we can buy an electromechanical relay in a year or two, or whatever products are currently being considered legacy. I'm not sure they're going to be available. So that comment isn't pertinent to the resolution. It's just
Right.
forecasting the future and maybe what we're going to have to do in the future as far as what products are being offered for opt-out.
Fair
And,
enough.
and I see the need to do that, because we had to we've had to scramble around just to get the AMI meters in general, finding
Right.
folks who could provide them. And then the analog meters are a whole nother issue. I think when we realizing that you're not proposing to change the meter types at this first meeting, when we're just talking about the cost of the opt-out of updating the cost, I think it would be good to have whatever information you can have on, here's how many AMI meters that are currently rolled out on our system. Here's how many issues we've had with them. Because when we went to this, because one of the first things you're talking about is the solar customers are going to have these meters. There were a lot of claims and concerns made about AMI meters, including there was a community meeting and there was videos that were put up that had, frankly, they were trying to make people afraid of the AMI meters showing fires and different things. And some of it was not real fires. It was doctored video to look like a fire. But I think from our experience, we've had these AMI meters for so long. What information can we share with our experience working with them so far? Have we had any failures? Have we had any safety issues? Have we had any of them not work and not report? Are they working as advertised so far? And I think just an update on, we've got a warranty of, X years on them. Here's the folks that are providing them to us. It seems like they were a company from South Carolina. Just an update on that relationship and how they work so far, I think would be just good information to have, because we didn't know when we were going to those how they were going to work, and now we have information.
It also would be interesting to know if one of the justifications for going with AMI meters is that they would be more accurate. And there was some controversy. The assumption was that the electromechanical meters would slow down over time and wouldn't be reporting all of the electricity used. Incidentally, I had individual who was a career meter reader tell me that it actually could go either way. But it would be interesting to know whether there has actually been any cost recovery over the base of customers who had opted for the AMI meters.
Yeah, I think there was an assumption that they were reading slow and that we were going to see this additional revenue from the meters when they're accurate. And I mean, just from the initial numbers, our revenues have been down every month. So I don't know I don't know if we have enough information to know whether they're.
We would not have that information. The only way to evaluate, so in theory, an electromechanical meter has mechanical parts that have friction that over time create more friction, and therefore they are known to, over a long period of time, turn a little bit slower with the same amount of energy going through them, which means that they're under reading.
Right.
And yes, there could be failure modes where they overread. The digital relays also have failure modes, but they tend to be binary failure modes. They just like their display conks out or they stop communicating entirely. They have fewer parts that tend to age out in the same way that electromechanical does, but it would be we'd have to do a significant amount of sampling and provide data, basically statistical data, if we were to run this to ground. And I think there have been industry evaluations of this phenomena, but we haven't done it in Jefferson. We don't have the resources to do that. And we haven't been like sampling a bunch of the meters that come out.
Well, just a point of curiosity, doesn't sound like it's practical to pursue this, and I'm fine with that.
I think the fact that they worked pretty, seems like flawlessly in getting the data to customer service. I mean, to me, it's been a win in terms of they're working. We were able to get them. We've almost replaced all of them and it's working.
So another benefit of them is customer service is able to share information with customers at a much more granular level of detail. So if they have high bill complaints, now they now have the data to help them understand specifically when their consumption pattern changed. So from my perspective, and unfortunately we don't have anybody here from customer service to back this up firsthand, but I believe we're able to provide a higher level of service to our customers with this additional information when they have questions about our product.
Cool. All right. So that's first touch. Seems like we appreciate the work put into it, and we'll see something on this after September 12th.
And there was a resolution. We're not
taking action.
taking action.
That's correct. We
We're
just showed you a
making sure
draft.
We're all on
Yeah.
the same page.
Yep. Okay.
Matt,
Yeah, absolutely. Question or comment? Go ahead.
Just wonder if technology will give you a cheaper AMI meter in the future that'll take advantage of the broadband connection that you're already giving everybody.
That's an interesting irony because that's exactly what Tacoma's Click business model was based on, is that they were going to bring fiber to the or coax in that case to the meter, and they ended up being the only off taker of that product and couldn't afford to sustain that. So it is in theory possible to have a Wi-Fi or a broadband interfaced meter, but yeah, it is possible. And for the time being, though, owning the backhaul is in most utilities' best interest.
Okay, so the next item is this solar resolution, and I don't know if we got a memo with this one. I don't think we did. I don't know. You want to give us some background on this, Joe?
Yes. So we understand we had folks on the line, but apparently
Kellen
we're
Lynch
getting
was
too
on.
long. Yep. It's our understanding, and Kellen's organization was advocating for this as well, that if Jefferson PUD is amenable to work with Wazoo's office that is managing community solar, and we acknowledge that we are willing to be a pass-through entity for low-income community solar grants, then we could draw that funding and projects could be sponsored in our service territory that would take advantage of those grant opportunities. So this resolution essentially is proposed to signal to the Wazoo Energy Office that Jefferson PUD is willing to participate in the program and be a pass-through entity to facilitate low-income solar projects being developed in our service territory.
Okay. Commissioner, questions at this point?
So a little more detail on what our involvement really would be if we're just a pass-through. Are we going to be tasked with engineering or site information or, different? How will it impact the utility beyond just being a pass-through? Is there going to be any other cost or time involvement by the utility that we're committing to?
That's not my understanding. There are costs. I'm Commissioner Tuber, I'm glad you brought this up because there are costs associated with connecting a community solar project. Those costs are not being waived in this resolution. So we would still have our normal engineering and connection costs associated with building a project like this.
And the customer pays for those.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when the customer then goes to get a funding for that, then we will act as the pass-through entity to offset some of those costs.
No, thanks for the
So
clarification.
we're not explicitly offsetting other costs to your question.
So my understanding of it is these projects go through the same kind of net metering process that we currently have. They pay the utility all the fees that we have associated with hooking them up. That the state has had different programs at different times, and it used to be that there would be a read on the solar array once a year, and then they get these payments over a period of years. Now my understanding is it happens once, and they provide when we don't have to do this, they go to the state, they go to Wazoo, and they say, here's our system. Do we qualify for your program? And then the state, if they decide they qualify for the program, they determine what the state incentive to that applicant will be. It gets approved, and then they would let us know. And then we make a one-time payment to that community solar project, and they handle the money. We don't have to do anything once we pay them. And then we turn around and we get a 1-for-1 credit on our state utility taxes. That's the same amount. So we get reimbursed by the state, and it's all in 1 year, is my understanding of how the program works currently.
You sure did a better job explaining that than I did, but that's exactly my understanding.
I had to have several conversations with Phil and Phil Liu, who heads the Wazoo solar program. And what apparently they've been waiting for is the state has just wanted something from us saying, we're willing to do this. They haven't, up until now, they haven't gotten anything from us saying we're willing to participate in it. And it's holding up this project that Kellen's group on
The
the
Olympic
Easting.
Housing Trust is
Given
trying
the
to sponsor.
fact that we would be operating merely to pass through the funds, I move that the board approve the resolution that supports equitable access to renewable energy through community solar projects and authorize the district to pass through contributions from the Washington State University Energy Program Administrator to qualifying projects.
Okay, I'll second it. Do we have any questions or further discussion on this one? Okay. Well, Joe, and we got a hand up. I'll get to the hand in a second, but I just do want to say, Joe, thank you for whatever it took to get this done, because this has been going on for months. And for some reason, on our end, we couldn't quite understand what the state wanted. So thank you and the staff for figuring this out. So I don't have my glasses on. Roger, do you have a question or a comment on this one?
Both. My comment is you didn't put the words low income in the resolution. I think that needs to be in there. And my question is, what other PUDs are doing this?
So to the first comment, I believe it's it says a PUD desires to support qualifying community solar projects within its service territory. It doesn't specifically say low income, but that's.
So Joe used the term low income. If you look up the RCW, I think the RCW does have for something to qualify as community solar, it's got to have a certain amount of people that are low income, and that's something that the state oversees and regulates and administers, not us. So we're not changing the program. It's a state program, and it does have a component to that. I can't quote what that is, though, and that's not our job to administer that.
And I can't either. And I also do not have a list of other electric utilities that are signing on to the same program.
Yeah, and I used to be in the solar business, and I swear the community solar program would change literally every 2 years. And one of the hits on it early on was that it wasn't getting to low income customers enough.
So I'm going to call the question.
Okay, call the question. Roger, did you get all your questions asked?
It has been called.
Questions called.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Question has been called. All in favor of approving the resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Resolution's approved. And Roger, if you have any more questions, you can follow up with me offline. Okay, is that the end of our business?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, we managed to, just for people, there was some questions about whether we needed this meeting. And I knew that there's always reasons to meet on our regular business meetings. We always have things to go over.
Learning curve.
Yeah, there's a learning curve.
Yeah, I'll own that one. It's
And-
full 2 hours.
Well, and it's an opportunity. I mean, it's our only opportunity to talk to each other as board members about PUD business. We can't do that otherwise, and hear about things that the other commissioners are going to. And it's an opportunity for Joe and for your staff to let us know about the changes you're making, because you're new and you're doing new things. So I don't see us ever probably in the. There's never been a canceled regular business meeting that I can remember. We always have things to do. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. It is now 6 o'clock and we've completed our business, and the meeting is now adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.